Welcome to the Spring 2020 Writing in the Disciplines panel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica Pisano, and I'm the Writing Program Coordinator here at UNC Asheville. Every semester for the past 5 years, we've put on a Writing in the Disciplines panel. It's an opportunity for students, first-year students, to hear from faculty across campus about what writing looks like in their different fields. Today we have, let's see, I've got to go in the right order here. We have Michael Googe from Mass Comm, we have Moretta Cameron from Computer Science, and we have Megan Powell from Math. We were supposed to have another professor from Africana Studies, but unfortunately he was not able to make it today. While writing studies is a distinct field with its own research and its own disciplinary conventions, the skills that you're learning in Lang 120 are skills you'll be able to use in your other classes as well. Too often we think about English class as disconnected from our majors. And this panel is just one of the ways that we're trying to help you make those connections. I've asked each of the panelists to speak briefly about writing in their disciplines, and then we'll use the remaining time to answer your questions. So think about what questions you have as the panelists are talking. You might even want to jot your questions down. Now, I'll turn the floor over to our panelists. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Googe. I'm in the Mass Comm department upstairs. My background is print journalism. I have worked for 3 daily newspapers and 2 regional magazines as a writer and an editor. In addition to teaching all the print media courses and journalism courses here at UNCA, I also write and edit for Blue Ridge Motorcycling Magazine. And I brought some free copies if you're into bikes and travel articles, so you can help yourself. The courses I teach are really about seeking the truth. So we use writing to tell human interest stories, to find out facts about people, places, and things that we feel the public should know about, or at least they would enjoy reading about. So it's a lot more applied writing than stuff that you might have in a creative writing or an English class. We use a lot of those same techniques. Ours tend to look outward more than inward. So we are trying to find other people with their stories to tell. So it's kind of always sort of an outreach to connect with people. Our students also do a lot of writing in our major. Our major is very heavy, even if you're in video production, even if you're going into radio or podcasting or film. Every Mass Comm student must take our basic journalism course, which is our writing intensive, because the print word matters as much as the visual imagery. In fact, they go together today and sort of converged media. So our students really produce some great work. You may have met a couple of them out there in the lobby. Our editor and news editor are sitting at the Blue Banners booth. I'm the faculty advisor for our student newspaper. Anybody can write for the student newspaper. I'm always sort of trying to get people to participate. It doesn't matter what your major is. It doesn't matter what your interests are in. As long as you sort of can find compelling story and a compelling truth to tell your fellow students in the UNCA community, the student newspaper will always be interested in that. So stop in and say hello to them as well. I also teach a capstone course of enterprise reporting, where students do a series of investigative articles. And just this past semester, one of our UNCA seniors had the cover story in the Smoky Mountain News, where she did a semester-long investigation into post-traumatic stress disorder and did a in-depth series looking at people affected by this disorder, what's the medical community doing about this disorder, what are social service agencies involved, and the Smoky Mountain News loved it so much they made it their cover. We frequently have students that contribute to Mountain Express or Citizen Times and student newspaper. I even have UNCA students who write personality profiles of motorcyclists for me. So I will pay them money, and you can actually make a living doing this. Is that 5 minutes?
I didn't keep count.
Okay, yeah. I didn't want to run on too long.
So, my name is Moretta Cameron. I'm chair of the Department of Computer Science. I have been teaching for 28 years, but I do remember, oh yeah, still got it. But anyway, I do remember being a student that was majoring in computer science and majoring in mathematics. And I remember having an attitude about why I was in computer science and mathematics, because I love problem solving and I didn't want to write. And I had that attitude, and I went to a liberal arts institution and quickly changed my mind about it. Okay? I think I understand even more when I got into graduate school. In terms of, and right now with some of my students, I will dare say I hear the groans when I give the writing assignments. I got into computer science because I'm trying to write. I'm sorry, okay? Let's talk about some of the things that a computer science professional would do. You've heard me mention in terms of graduate school, if you're going to graduate work, without a doubt, you are going to be working on a project. You've got to explain that project, okay? And you've got to disseminate the information about that project to the broader community. So someone's going, okay, the graduate school is not my path. So let's say that you are going into industry. As a person who's developing software, you will have to write documentation for that software for multiple groups of people. Let me mention two. Your colleagues that you will be working with, for them to understand the processes and the ideas that you're trying to incorporate in your software, and also for your users who are paying you for that software. How many of you use software packages and you look at the documentation, the help center, the help system that they have, and you go, anybody? Okay. The people who are writing, and I know some of my computer scientists go, oh, we're going to push it off on the technical writers. No, your company might not be hiring a technical writer. It's going to be on you. And if the user cannot understand how to use your software, chances are they will not be purchasing your software. In terms of those of you like, I don't know about software development, any discipline that you're in, you are going to be faced with one day somebody who's making policies about your discipline. So in order to advocate for your discipline, you do need to be able to communicate with the people who will be making decisions about you, about your discipline, about your colleagues, about your clientele who's coming to your discipline. So in terms of actual concrete things, I've mentioned the technical research papers, I mentioned documentations, presentations, and most of the time people do not consider presentations as a writing activity. It is, okay? And definitely, how many of us have seen presentations where, I have a few of them myself, where I have a few typos, and oops, I didn't get someone to proofread that, okay? That is a writing activity. Contracts. We have to, sometimes those contracts are not there. Sometimes this is a new product that you have developed. You have to come up with a contract that's very clear, very precise, very explicit on what requirements are supposed to be and what expectations are being had and what expectations you are to fulfill. I got a question about what types of writing do I assign my students. So you'll be surprised in my games programming class, there has to be a storyline that goes along with the games program. Now, I'm not going to say that every student writes the storyline. What we have is we divide that class up into groups and we look at different skill sets, but it is very helpful for each group to have someone who understands creative writing, who understands the elements of writing a good story and an engaging story and a script for the developers to come up with. In terms of our software engineering class, you have to write a requirements document to make sure that you understand what your client is requiring as far as the software is concerned. In our senior capstone, of course, each person develops their own project and they have to write about that project and they have to write it in the scientific format that's expected of a journal article. Audience, I think I just mentioned about the audience, your colleagues, your consumers, the public, policymakers, all of those are different instances as far as audience that you would have to address, may have to address one day, and I think that goes across disciplines. What does computer science expect and value in writing? Number one, make it clear. And I know there's some writings that you have seen from computer scientists, and it's not very clear. We do value it. We're working on it. Okay.
I've seen some from journalists that weren't very clear too.
Make it rational. Make it precise. Make it complete. Your writing should be complete. You need to make sure that all aspects that you are addressing as far as this problem that you're trying to solve, make it clear that you have considered all of these different, you state what the assumptions are, and you have considered as many as you can, and you do the best that you can to make sure that you show that you have completely understood the entire problem. I should have put first, make sure that it's accurate,
Yes.
that it fits, I mean, that's part of being rational, that it fits as far as the particular rules and the objectivity that you're trying to maximize. And one thing I would say, just like in our colleagues in terms of the humanities that will talk about being engaging, and some people do not consider scientific writing engaging. Well, if it's not engaging, many people are not going to read it. It is important. Just because it's scientific doesn't mean it has to be dry. It doesn't have to be so terse, and that's supposed to make it be more intelligent. No, it doesn't. That makes people not read it. It doesn't. Now, you don't have to get all flowery and fluffy with it as far as the persuasive part of it, but you should make it such that it's engaged voice instead of the passive. And we do have a problem sometimes of doing passive voice all the time. So I think those are the questions that I can answer right now, and I'll look forward to your questions.
I am Megan Powell in the Department of Mathematics, and I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Mathematics and Sports Journal that we host here on campus. And so I actually have sort of two main areas. One is I do a lot of work in risk assessment and sort of doing mathematical models to assess the risk of a particular situation. And I do work in sports analytics in terms of using mathematics to help understand the sport better. And one thing I've really discovered over the years is really two things. Number one, no one is actually going to read all of the math that you put forth in any paper ever. Even your teachers, when you write a paper, I think that it gets back to Miranda's point of having been accurate and concise. But if you don't tell the reader what it is they should be getting out of this, right? Because you can have just pages of equations, and that's great, and then you just put a period at the end, and I, as the reader, I'm like, well, even as the teacher who knows the stuff, what was I supposed to get out of that? Is it a C value? Is it a Y value? And so I've discovered that two parts of writing that I don't think have been discussed yet that are very important are tables and graphs. They're really good ways to summarize your data, and they have to be really well captioned. So as you've seen in the media, I mean, even with the coronavirus right now, there are all sorts of tables and graphs being thrown about, and they are misused and they are misread, and you have to assume that someone is going to want to just take a table or take a graph out of it without reading anything else and be able to learn from it. So you want to be really thoughtful, and I think this is an interdisciplinary idea, is being really thoughtful about how you label the information that you put in. And I've done work on NFL overtime and how fair it is. No one actually wants to know the mathematics that I did or even the data that I used. They just want to know what's the percent that team A is going to win or what's the percent team B is going to win. And so you have to be clear about what that answer is and also what the caveats are. Along with that, one of the places that I've really developed over the years, and I try to help students develop, I had a colleague when we were writing a paper together, kept saying, what is the story we're trying to tell? What is the story we're trying to tell? And you don't think about a story when you're talking about writing mathematics. But I think this is similar to the gaming line, is that there should be some idea that you're trying to convey. You're not just trying to solve a problem and here the problem is solved, but why is that problem interesting? What is the point of it in the end? What have you contributed new in the field? Even if it's just a class paper, what is it that you've done more than just solve a problem? So I'd encourage you to think about that in any paper that you write. of what is the underlying theme and repeat it so the reader cannot possibly miss what the point of your paper is. Better to be a little bit repetitive in the introduction and the discussion and the conclusion and the abstract of what your point is than for it to sort of be hidden at the end of the paper. I've read a lot of papers that it's not until the last paragraph of the paper that I know what the point is of what I was trying to read. I think a lot of my other thoughts have already been spoken to, so I'll leave it at that, and I guess we'll open up for questions at this point.
So what questions do you have for our faculty panelists?
None? And your writers? Always have questions. Questions lead to other questions, which leads to truth, which leads to more truth.
They are shy.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I find my basic journalism course, the writing, and we write in Associated Press style, so we do things differently with punctuation and spelling. That's not the hard part. Students master that really easily. They don't, really have a trouble with the journalism aspect of taking themselves out of the story. They usually adapt to that pretty good. The hardest part that I find for beginning journalists is walking up to that stranger and saying, "Hi, I'm Mike. I want you to tell me your life story." That paralyzes people. You got to go up to, an assistant vice chancellor and say, "I'd like you to tell me about what you're doing and why." And that can be intimidating. And as a writer, you really have to sort of move beyond that. A lot of people who are attracted to writing, and I was too, is because it's a form of self-expression. We can sort of look inside ourselves and we can sort of find out who we are and how we're reacting to things. And that's good, and you can develop some useful skills with that method, but it only takes you so far. And let's face it, how many other people want to read about you? All right, and so I'm always telling my students, you are not the story. Now, you may have stumbled upon the story or realized some kind of larger human interest connection through your own introspection, but in reality, we need to tell the story of other people and other humans. And that takes not being shy and walking up and talking to people.
I have a question. How many of you, when you're given a writing assignment, how many of you write it the night before it's due? Notice I have my hand up also. Okay. Okay. And I will give you this story. So when I was in high school, I thought I was hot stuff because I would write for my teachers, and there's this one that loved my writing so well, she would read my paragraphs out in class, and I, of course,
I was the one like, let it be an essay.
would beat my chest about that. So my first semester in college, I did as was customary. I had a writing assignment, and I had a whole bunch of other things, programs to do. I was in calculus, I had my calculus work on it. I wrote that paper, it was an essay. I wrote it midnight, okay? Turned it in probably for my 8 o'clock class. Turned it in my freshman seminar class that was taught by a music professor. So, of course, there was a music professor. What was he going to do about my writing? Let me tell you what he wrote. I got my paper back, and it had D. And the comment was, "I don't know what you said, and I can't get over how you said it."
I got to remember that line next time I'm grading.
That's probably not the thing to do. It really hurt my feelings. However, I went back and read it and go, okay, there's some problems here. Okay. Your best work is never done at midnight. Okay. My best work is still never done at midnight. Okay. The idea is write early, no matter which discipline you're in. And even with my computer scientists who are trying to put it off because it's more important that I get the program done. No, write while you're working on the program. Don't worry about all of the wonderful grammar errors you're going to get, that you're going to generate immediately. Worry about getting the ideas down. Then come back and read it and go, who wrote this? And start correcting it. Never turn in your first draft. Because even, I can speak for myself. I won't speak for my colleagues. But I can speak for myself and tell you right now, my first draft is never my best draft, okay? And I have fired off an email to the provost and to the chancellor. And then I have to come back and say, please forgive the typos, I do know how to write. So the idea should be, I should follow my own advice of write, put it aside, and come back and look at it in the morning and correct it, okay? I promise you, it will be so interesting to me and so pressing that I will press the button immediately and then regret the typos, but just letting you know.
My favorite quote's from Ernest Hemingway, write drunk, edit sober.
I'll add to that. I did a paper on Tasmania Devils a few years ago with a student, and he wrote this beautiful draft before I even asked him, and I get it, and it's quite a few pages long. I said, Chris, like where'd all this information come? Like there are no citations in here. And he said, oh, I just didn't put them in yet. And I'm like, there, yet? Like how are we gonna go back through 3 pages of information on 20 different citations and remember? So even if you don't formally cite it, when you're doing your first draft and doing your first writing, every single thought that was not 100% unique in your head needs to be cited. And that's one thing that I think that most students on campus could probably work on more. And so as you're going through, if you just put in parentheses what I always use author year, what paper, what book, or what page number. Also, so when you go back to look at it later, when you go back to edit it sober, you at least remember where that information came from. Like, was this 27? I thought this was 24, and where this number came from. So I'd really encourage you to document your writing in the first time around. It will slow you down because you want to just write and write and write. But oh my goodness, will it save you a lot of time after the fact trying to put citations in later.
I would also add, after hearing about the drunk part first, having never been drunk, but there's the idea that, drunk driving is not good. Neither is drowsy driving. So I might not have been drunk driving, but I've been drowsy driving, and I've been drowsy writing. Drowsy writing is not good either. Question for you. Since you're not asking me questions, I'm going for you, okay? What tools do you use when you're writing? Shout it out. What tools? Do you use any tools? You use what? Grammarly. I can't hear you.
Grammarly.
Grammarly? Okay. Why do you use Grammarly?
It helps with like the little stuff that I'll probably miss because when I type, I just kind of just let it out and then I'll go back and see all the misspelled words or like some quotations I missed.
Okay, so here Grammarly. What else we got?
JSTOR?
Forgive me, I have a hearing problem, so.
JSTOR? JSTOR.
JSTOR.
Right.
Oh, what is
Okay.
JSTOR?
A
It's
database.
a database
Research
of
database.
research articles.
For that, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've learned something.
I mean, you have one of these on you right now. Everybody in this room, right? This is a writing tool, right? And so, I travel along and do these big adventure pieces. So sometimes I'm just standing at the side of the road and the creative muses start to move. I can voice record. I can actually write it down, save its notes, send it to myself. I do a lot of sort of interviews on other motorcyclists and these travel ones. So we're at a beautiful place, traveling cross country. I run into other motorcyclists. I hand them a magazine and say, "Hi, I'm a travel writer. I'd like to interview you." And I just turn this on, right? And so then I have their story, their truth. And then this never leaves my side. So when I'm back at my computer and I'm ready to write, I already have this. So this is one of your most important tools as a writer. And you just kind of take it for granted. You think, oh, I've got to go to JSTOR. I've got to get ready. I've got to do this, right? You know, sometimes the story is right in front of you.
What tools you use?
I have really worked on managing how to document what I'm doing through the years. So, I mean, I'll use Google Docs or Tech, but, you know, this is something that I will have to say in terms of where is all the information that was in my head at one point when I read all these articles and had these ideas, and you're in a math program and you're in math writing and you're in Google Docs to share with people outside of math. So I would encourage you to figure out a system that helps you remember where you were when you left off. Because I find I personally do much better if I'm able to find a continuous block of time, 2 to 4 hours to work. Because I find that if I work a little bit at a time, which is what I encourage in terms of a lot of learning, is doing a little bit at a time, but in terms of writing, even if I come back from morning to afternoon, it takes me 15 to 20 minutes minimum to even figure out where I was and where my thought process was. So it's hard to find those types of time blocks in order to write, but I think that they really can be helpful in terms of feeling like you have a continuous process when you're trying to write a paper for any class.
Yeah, I second the motion a little bit at a time. I tell my students that are working on feature articles that writing these articles isn't like building a brick wall. You don't take the one brick and the next brick and the next brick until you build the wall. It's more like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You dump it all out. This goes with this, this goes with this, this goes with this. Oh, I'm busy, I'll come back to it. Oh, okay, this goes over here. And so if you get those pieces of the puzzle together in chunks, then it's not the daunting task of you have to build this wall brick by brick, one after the other in sequence. That is real daunting. I'm always telling my students, it's like you got to avoid the curse of the blinking cursor. That you're sitting in front of the computer on a
And
blank
there's nothing
screen
there.
and that cursor's sitting there. When you gonna produce something, right? But if you just sort of say, oh yeah, I talked to that person and I have this quote from them and I have this description of who they are, I'll just type that up. And then, oh, this goes with some other stuff I just uncovered. And then, oh, I talked to another person today. And so those pieces start to come together, and then you revise them and you say, let's move this, let's do that, let's take this out, let's put this in. So it's not, a sequence of events that have to be done in an order, because that's tyranny.
So, question for all three of you. How long do you think it took you to learn to write the ways that you have learned?
A lifetime.
How long it takes to write?
How long did it take you to learn to do what you do in terms of writing?
I'm still learning.
Yeah, it's a lifetime, and I'm still, I'm probably not the writer I want to be or will be a year, 10 years from now. It is a process, and it's a lot. I always point out, writing is kind of like playing a musical instrument. Some people are naturals, can pick it up, do okay with it, but if you don't practice, you really don't get any better, right? You can do chopsticks forever, right? But you're not going to compose a symphony, and you're not going to write, the greatest American novel, or you're not going to write that Pulitzer Prize winning story if you just don't write. You just got to do it, Even if it's just jotting down a sentence here and there when it comes to you.
One thing that actually I think has significantly improved my writing that I didn't anticipate is reviewing papers. And so for students, that would be proofreading other people's papers. I mean, just for a friend, just for no reason at all. But when you really have to critically assess someone else's work, it helps you understand what other people are looking for in your own work. And I have found that students, when I've had students assess other students' work, and not assess in terms of grade, but to give them feedback on improving, and then I read their comments, and then I read the same paper, I have the exact same comments as the teacher, as the students do. So I think you can certainly help each other more than you think you can.
Oh, yeah.
And so also, I think that some students feel like, well, if I'm a bad writer, I can't necessarily be a good editor. And that's really not true, because you feel like it's unfair because I'm sort of nitpicking something that I'm not good at doing. But that's actually exactly what you want to do, because in your brain, you'll start to think about the types of things that you are looking for in someone else's writing to help encourage your own writing being
Yeah.
more clear.
That's actually integrated into our curriculum. I make the journalism students be editors of the other journalism students. So we switch papers, and 3 or 4 people tear your stuff apart. And then you have to make the editorial decisions. Are they right? Or am I right? Or is this third person right? So, yeah, that's a valuable process.
I see your hand. Let me just answer one thing, and I'm coming for you. Let's see. But I want to emphasize what I heard both of my colleagues say, and I heard specifically from Michael here too, and implicitly from Megan, that the importance of reading.
Yes.
Reading. And I had a presentation that was done yesterday, and the person goes, well, our generation does not read. And that kind of went, what? Okay. And I think the person was trying to say that we watch YouTube videos. Okay, you watch YouTube videos to learn how to do things. Write down your response to that. The way to learn how to be a better writer is to actually, back to
Better reader.
be a better reader and to actually write. Write something, and to go with, I mean, some of us will refer to it as low-stakes writing, okay? But just take the time to just write, okay, I watched this video here. What did I get from this? And you keep a nice little journal of that. Those of you that are going into scientific disciplines, you are encouraged to keep a scientific portfolio. You are going to be reading some scientific papers, okay? I don't go around memorizing what I have just read. I'm sorry, my memory's kind of fading. I have to go back, look at the summary that I have, and I have a set of questions that I usually answer as far as a paper is concerned. If I'm reading something for leisure, I have a good memory for some different stories, but some concepts really resound with me. I write it down. If you don't like the idea of just writing, you have a microphone on this thing, right? Record, get something that will transcribe for you, and then go back, because you will have to, and correct it. Okay. So, I'm sorry, the question.
Hey, I'm Steve Clever. I work in the university's communication office, and I've been a professional writer for pretty much my whole career, but not in an academic setting, except I do write for the university, but not academic writing. And a little defense of the younger generation, I think they may not think so, but they read a lot.
Oh, yeah.
When you're looking at your phone,
That's
you
true.
are constantly reading, and what I wanted to get to
Somebody had to
is
write that content.
my kids make fun of me because I put like punctuation and complete sentences in text. So you know about writing what's appropriate for a different audience and a different medium. And so you are becoming expert at different medium that our generation are not so expert in. And part of what you need to pick up in is all these other media that is less personal than what you see on your phone. And the other thing I just wanted to share with you is the importance of putting your ego down a little bit and being receptive. And that's more for those of you who feel like you're good writers, or you really love what you just wrote. Because as a beginning professional, I would write things and then have a more senior person come back to me and say, this is way too long, rearrange these paragraphs, rewrite this, and I'd be like, oh, you don't get it. And, it took me a while to realize, oh, they did get it. They are a reader. I am a writer. And there's a difference between what you feel and then how that's going to affect your readers. So the importance of just being receptive. And if you don't understand what the red ink or the low grade is about on something you've written, depending on your relationship with the prof, you might go back to that professor, or you might go to your English professor, even if it's a different discipline, to say, help me, why did this not work for that reader? And you can make sure Dr. Pisano has even more work than she already has.
There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well said.
Steve, you should have been up here.
That's right, yeah, where were you?
There was a chair right there.
Well, thank you all so much for being here today. I'm going to duck in front of this camera here. Thank you so much for being here today. I want to go ahead and close up a little bit early so that if you haven't had a chance to visit some of the tables out there, you have a chance to visit some of the tables out there. You know, I can't get all faculty to represent all disciplines up here. Besides, we'd be here all afternoon and nobody wants to be sitting around here for all afternoon. But what I do have is we do have students from all different disciplines, a lot of different disciplines represented. We have people here from the Writing Center. If you're interested in learning more about the Writing Center, the Career Center, Communications and Marketing, please go visit their tables, talk with them. Maybe there's somebody here from the discipline that you're interested in. We've got these cards. If you haven't gotten one yet, please make sure that you get one. You can get signatures from the different tables, and there's a quick question on the back. You can turn this into your professor tomorrow or after spring break to show them, I was there, I promise I was there, here's my paper to show. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much to our faculty panelists and everyone here. Thank you so much.